Vive.
Coffee, coffee, coffee.
You're gonna need a whole lot of coffee to get you through this one, pal.
I'm gonna need 4 years of lattes. Line them up.
4 years. The Italians did it with espresso,
And it's
and
over in such a hurry. It's a quick solution. Whoop, whoop, goodbye. Gotta go.
so I usually
Or
do mine with espresso. It's funny. Coffee is one of those things, Michael, where I imitate people sometimes. Like I'll see somebody buy a drink that I really like,
and you just like the way it looks.
and I like the way it looks, and say, "Hey, give me one of those for 3, 4, 5 weeks. Maybe I'll drink that." But I gotta have, as you well know, my 3 or 4 shots in the morning. You remember when I used to come in every morning with a triple espresso and a big ass cup of coffee, and
It's
that's how I
true.
got my day going.
Every day morning. Where's Vinny? Don't worry, he's just up the street.
Sit up
Don't
down
worry.
espresso, bothering the girls and getting his coffee. I miss that place, man. That was a
Is
Uptown
it
Espresso was a great. It was a great hangout.
is it no longer there?
I don't think so. I don't know if it's in the same. I haven't been to Lower Queen Anne in so long. I should go over there and look.
Because I'm no
Uh,
longer there.
the guy who owned it, and I think you had met him a couple of times, Dow Lucarell, young guy. I mean, he was in his 30s, maybe early 40s, and he and his father had built out all of these Uptown Espressos. I think there were 6 or 7 of them. He used to be a practice player with um um the Rain. Remember the Rain,
I do.
the first women's football team in Seattle, first women's basketball team in Seattle. Excuse me. He played for the Rain, and one day when I was out in Seattle, no, when I was out in Seattle. Can I start this all over again? When I was here,
He's
when
New
I
York
was out
Vinny.
in
He's in
Pittsburgh,
Seattle. He's New York Vinny. He thinks he's in Seattle, but who knows where he is?
who knows
We
where I
don't. We
am?
don't know. We don't know where he is.
When I was in Pittsburgh, I got a phone call. Says, "You're not going to believe this. What happened? Dow died." And at first, I thought they were talking about Constantine, the county executive, who I don't know if he was the county executive at that time, but circle it back, and it was my friend Dow, and just a nicer guy you just didn't meet. It's just one of those guys that you met him, and he
Yeah,
was
you had an espresso and you started talking.
yeah, yeah, and he built that kind of place where people would come in, and the people who came in and got their coffee and their cake. He had a great bakery there. Gloria was one of his bakers, who I got to know really well after a while, and
She got up earlier than we did.
she was there at 2 o'clock in the morning. And there was another one that they had before Gloria that was a really just a beautiful person. And I would come in early in the morning, and it still wasn't busy, so we would talk, and they knew you and I were on the radio and everything, um, and so I'd go in there. Sometimes I'd wind up waiting a while, but while I was in there, I was getting stuff for the show. Because this was the hotbed of what was going on. What did you think of the Sonics game last night? What did you think of it? Everybody was, by 5:30, there was enough people in there.
So you knew what you thought. I don't know what I. When you go in, you don't know what you're thinking. When you come out, you know what everyone's thinking.
So it was your show prep. And I did the same thing in Pittsburgh. And there used to be this place called the Coffee Tree around a block from my house. And I got in with these guys called the Coffee Tree Table of Knowledge. The
Oh God. Oh God.
COT. And this happened a little later in the morning. And all these dudes and women, there was some women, but it was mostly dudes, would sit around, and it was like a big ass boys club,
Pontificate.
just pontificating on everything. And that was my show prep.
How
That's
often
all I
did
need.
How often did they fire Mark Tomlin?
Uh, uh, Mike Tomlin well, this was a more reasonable group of guys. So it was a few, But in this group, there was all kinds of people. My good friend George Jackson, my good friend Al, uh, um, all of these people had all these really, one was a science teacher for 35 years and he was retired. Another guy was a judge in town, Blaze. So I mean, it was a really heavy table.
You had to know your stuff. You had to know your stuff. You had to know something. You had to have an area of expertise.
You had to know your stuff, and they were always glad to have the sports guy there. And I used to do. I mean, I used to stay there until show started at 10. I used to stay there till 9 because I did 10 times better prepping there and got more information there than I could have ever got on a computer because I got the real thing, how are people really feeling.
Right.
And I also used to get different drinks.
I like the way I like the way that looks. I'm gonna have one of those.
Exactly. I would look at the drinks and go, yeah, I got to try one of those. Except none of those pumpkin lattes and nothing along those lines.
Coffee. No,
No.
wasting your time with that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff. I mean, matter of fact, I got it right here. The my favorite, the quad espresso with two Splendors and a dash of heavy cream.
Just a dash, just a hint.
Just a dash. I just want just enough to cut it when I sip it. I
Well,
probably should get it frothed.
what would the table of knowledge say about the day after that we're experiencing now? Because the whole nation is experiencing the hangover of the day after.
Interesting. You should ask that, Michael. And
Even the winners.
yeah, because it's about 50-50, maybe a little bit less, maybe it's a little more 60-40. But there's a strong Trump representation. This is the liberal suburbs of Pittsburgh, but yet,
They're all out of the closet.
yeah, people, and the good thing is, and I can, I go by the first time that Trump ran, everybody felt that they could say what they wanted to say, and they
And
weren't going to be judged.
the Fuhrer would protect them.
Right. So anyway, I just saw a post from my good friend George Jackson. He put up a question about Trump on Facebook and got a gaggle of people who.
What was his query?
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to his page. George Jackson. By the way, George Jackson, if you ever need promotional items for your business, or you ever need to, little tchotchkes that you hand out to people, that's what George does. He's a great guy.
Does he make prayer cloths?
Does he make what?
Prayer cloths.
Yes, he does. You know what? As great of a guy as he is, he's never given me a quote on prayer cloths. And I really need to find that out from him.
Because they're going to sell like hotcakes.
I
In fact, if you don't have a prayer cloth, a hotcake will do. Put the hotcake on your radio, and it'll prayer for you while you're busy with shaving, making breakfast, doing other things. The prayer cloth works while you don't.
yeah, yeah, let's see. See, I got George Jackson promotion, but I want his personal clip.
And our prayer cloth doesn't bother God. It goes directly to Prayer Central, where it's tabulated, and you get a response within the day,
Yeah.
provided that you're paid up.
Siri, find me George Jackson on Facebook. Anyway, so George put a question up about Siri, find me George Jackson. Find me George Jackson on Facebook. And
Maybe
I'll
George,
tell you how good.
maybe his post has been removed by the Palace Guard.
I'll tell you how good what a good guy George Jackson is. We trekked across um,
Sixth Avenue.
the state of New Jersey
Same thing.
Um, to chase Bruce Springsteen, who we
To
thought
catch
was
the
going to be playing at a bar. It was great. We did this overnight to Asbury Park. We ate breakfast in the in a place where Springsteen and all those guys used to eat breakfast, Frank's in Asbury Park, because we had heard a rumor somebody we knew was playing at this bar in Asbury Park.
Southside Johnny.
No, 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 no. Joe Grishecki. And so we reasoned that because it was close to Springsteen's house, and Springsteen always shows up at these kinds of things, and of course, the holy grail of every Springsteen fan is what? See Bruce Springsteen perform in Asbury Park. I mean, that's the thing, right? So you can say you saw him there. If you're a Springsteen fan, I think that's fair to say that. So, anyway, um, Michael, uh, George, he's just that kind of guy, man. He's a throwback to my youth. I love the guy. If you say George, let's go to Montreal to see Springsteen, and say, all right, get in the car, let's go. That kind of dude. So anyway, George, and I don't know why I'm not finding his things. I'll look for it. By the way, did you happen to see my? I took my profile picture down. Did you happen to see what I put up there?
No, tell me.
I put a vendor's button
Oh, from Harry M. Stevens.
from Harry M. Stevens. I just wanted to pay tribute this month of food, this month of Thanksgiving.
But
Um,
Harry M. Stevens was not the type of guy to jump in the car and drive to Montreal to see Springsteen. He just wouldn't do that. He had things to do.
no, he was busy. All right, I'm gonna read you the Jeff, Michael, Joe, Frank, and the rest of the cult. Please answer me the following questions. By the way, George is a good old New Jersey liberal Democrat, but a
So
centrist.
he's writing from prison.
No, not yet. Please answer me the following questions and know this is not a debate as to what would the Dems do if they had been elected. He stated that these were the things he would do. If the place is stated 60% on China, 20% on other countries, who will be paying the cost of the tariffs on the goods coming into the U.S. and sold to the consumers? Two, what are the plans to lower the gas prices, the food prices, the interest rate, housing costs, and utility rates? Three, are there any plans to defund Social Security and Medicare? Immigrants, who, if anyone, is going to fill the void working in the fields, picking crops, lawn care, most large and small cities? Who is going to take these jobs? Uh, Service areas of hotel cleaning rooms at the wages now being paid to the immigrants. Um, I'd feel better if I had a lot of solid intel on the answers to these questions. He's got 44 replies, and as you could imagine,
They all told him to go piss in his hat.
no. I'll give you the first answer. And by the first sentence, you're going to know that this woman who's on here doesn't know what she's talking about.
She's in the cult.
China will pay the tariffs.
Oh, good.
The American companies, it's with an apostrophe S, will come back to the United States. So it's a possessive, not a plural. Uh, Now I'm giving English lessons, by the way. We'll come back to the United States.
Yeah.
The gas prices will go down when we use our own oil. Lucinda, do you know who the largest oil producing country on the face of the earth is?
Peru. I'm wrong? Iceland, Botswanaland, Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein, Liechtenstein, you can lick anything you want. Knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out.
The the largest oil producing country in the United States is the United States of America.
Oh, trick question. How's anyone that voted for Trump supposed to know that?
So the idea is we're either going to drill more or we're going to have to buy more from other countries.
No, back to number one. I want to see China pay for the tariffs. I just want to see that.
Okay. Food prices will go down when the gas prices go down for the truckers. What were the gas prices? What are gas prices now? Most of the country, now we're the exception on the West Coast and up here down by you. Most of the country is dipped under 3.25 a gallon.
We're paying about 4.10 here, the best price.
Yeah, most of the country we're 4.75, I think, if unless you go to Costco, and Costco doesn't make any money on their gas. They're giving you the gas for what they pay for it, basically.
Just to get you in the territory.
Well, they charge you. I mean, Costco could give everything away at cost, and I mean they have how many millions of members that pay $120 a year to join?
They got to make some money on that big lifetime supply of mustard jar they got.
Yeah. So, Costco, in my mind, I mean, if you think about it, it's one of the greatest marketing schemes ever.
We buy it and sell it to you for what we buy it, and then we make money because we don't charge you more than we don't care what you pay for it.
Yeah, we draw you in, and you pay $120 or $200, whatever the executive membership or whatever it is.
They make
Maybe
money on their
they make a low margin on it, but it's a very low margin.
They make good money on their outdoor hot dogs.
Right, and we're selling stuff that previously used to sit on shelves in warehouses because we sell the distributors end of it. We sell volume. We don't sell one bottle of ketchup. We sell 20 bottles of ketchup to you, or 10 bottles of gallon bottles of ketchup.
So I want a big bottle of ketchup. Well, we got the kind or nothing.
Pretty sure he's going to cut taxes like he promised. He's not cutting Medicare or Social Security. He's stopping taxes on it. That's the one thing, I guess, if there's any brightness in the tunnel here, if there's any light at the end of the tunnel, it's that we will probably wind up, he'll probably wind up cutting Social Security taxes. Not sure of it.
One of the things you got to remember is somebody has to do the work to get all that done. And Trump doesn't like to come down till 11 o'clock from hair and makeup. So his day doesn't start when your day starts. He doesn't have a presidential day. He doesn't have a presidential calendar. He sits at his desk and makes calls to Elon Musk, and they talk about strategy. He talks to a senator from South Carolina, and he backs him into a corner and gets him to say things he doesn't believe. And then it's time for lunch. And then it's time for dinner. The day's over. He'll see you tomorrow at 11 after hair and makeup.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one person's answer to it all. I read that the other day, and I've really made a decision, Michael. Is that I got to divorce myself from it for the next. I mean, I don't know how long.
4 years.
Well, it could be. It could be 4 years. What I'm not going to do is put myself in a mental hospital over something I have no control over.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be fabulous, and there's going to be plenty of people like Beverly or whatever her name is from the cult, who will answer the questions that Donald Trump will never answer.
Right.
They will answer them all
Right. They're going to take what the king will give you,
and run
and
with it.
that's it. And it'll become, it'll be happy times for racists
It already
because
is.
they'll be covered under equal protection under the law. They'll get to send whatever kind of hate speech they want to get.
And Joe Biden will say,
And
"We're good Americans. Here's the keys."
yeah, yeah. And if you're a member of his cult or club,
We're not good Americans, and we'll take those keys.
and
Thank you.
then chances are you'll have J.D. Vance running in 2028.
I think he'll probably disappear pretty quickly here into the shadow of the vice president's residence there at the Naval Observatory.
I don't know. I don't know. I hope you're right. I mean, in some ways, I dislike him more than I dislike Trump
You'll get
because
to
at
see him
least the
break
one
ties
thing,
in the Senate.
what?
You'll get to see him break ties in the Senate.
Yeah, the one thing that you can feel better about, I guess. I don't even know if I feel better about it. That's not the right word. The one thing you can acknowledge is that love him or hate him, Trump is what he is. He's a boring, racist, misogynist piece of crap,
And he's a dummy.
and he's stupid. But that's who half of America, over half of the voters, wanted to elect as president. There's no way that if you voted for Donald Trump, you didn't know that. If the media did anything, they showed you what he was. And a lot of people will say, well, it's Fox News. But Fox News gets to like 1% of the homes in America. That's it.
The concept that
And
he's a leader is wrong. He's not a leader. He's just a figurehead for his own recently formed ideas.
yeah, it's an incredibly amazing thing. And but JD Vance is a snake in the grass. We really don't know what he is.
He hasn't been
We
told yet.
really don't know what his story is.
Hang J.D. Vance. Hang J.D. Vance.
Well, I don't think JD Vance would ever have the balls to do what Mike Pence, who, for all the bad stuff you want to say about him, was an American hero that day. Because
Hanging out at the loading docks with his daughter.
his better angels got the whole of him. He knew what was right, he knew what was wrong, and he did the right.
He was just a right wing talk show host that got a little ahead of himself.
Yeah. So, but after this week, Michael, I'm just going to put it out of my head. I'm just going to move on. What he does, he does. I'm going to hope it doesn't affect me all that much. I'm going to
Well,
come to grips with.
when the lame duck crosses right in front of you, you're going to have to brake.
Well, one of the things that I worry about, Michael, profusely, is that he and I don't know why I worry about this so much, but it's in my wheelhouse all the time. It was one of the things that drove me to be so against him being president. Is that I'm going to die? I'm probably going to die with this guy in office.
Not necessarily. Oh, you mean he's never going to leave office?
I don't know. I just get that overwhelming feeling that I'm going to die with this son of a bitch in office. And it really shouldn't matter. You know, it really shouldn't matter who I die with in office, who the president is when I die. But I always wanted to die in a kinder, gentler, nicer America than I grew up in.
Ain't going to happen.
You know, and it just looks like, when I was a kid, my father used to take us to Canada. My father loved to go to Canada for some reason. We had cousins up in Toronto, and my dad used to love Canada. So we would go up there a couple of times a year. We'd jump in a car and he'd drive up to Montreal, and then we'd go outside of Montreal or Quebec and I always noticed how much kinder the people were in Canada.
I think that's what attracted him to it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he grew up in a rough place. He grew up as a rough, tough guy. And I think there was a piece of him inside that enjoyed that kindness. You still had people drinking beer, and you still had, I mean, it was still,
They
I
had their
mean,
own bacon. They had their own brand of bacon.
yeah, yeah, but they served American bacon. That was the interesting thing. I always wondered about that. I actually asked a guy in a diner once about that outside of Montreal.
What did he say?
He didn't speak English.
Ah, mais oui, zoutelou.
Bacon, American, But I always wondered that. Why did but they were kinder and gentler, and there was just something about what was going on up there that always attracted me, even as a young boy.
That's why I
So
like. That's why I like the Cash Cab Canadian edition.
yeah, it's different. And I'm not saying, oh God, I'm moving to Canada or anything like that. Well, if you are listening from Canada, I am single and available. Um,
And likes your bacon and likes his own bacon.
Likes my bacon, love to sing but so I got a choice, Michael. What do I want to do for the rest of my time? Where do I want to go? What do I want to be doing?
What's your project going to be?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I'm rebooting Drive Time. We start tomorrow again
What
with
time? Where? What time? How can we find you?
11 o'clock on all our social media channels. 11 o'clock in the morning. We'll have Tom Volk and myself. We'll be talking about the Seattle International Auto Show.
International. That implies international cars coming from
Cars
everywhere.
from International. I mean, they actually have an international scout there, I think. Oh, no, I got to check that. See if they have one. Um,
An orange, big one.
no, a little scout. So I don't know, Michael. I don't know if I'm coping with it the right way or I'm not coping with it the right way, but I'm trying the best I can.
Well, what we're saying is we can't get involved like we did last time because Trump kept us on the edge of our seat every day of his 4 years, and as the job became harder for him, he became less interested in it till it was time to leave office. Then he couldn't handle.
Yeah,
So
we lost the
it
war.
doesn't matter what he does for 4 years. It matters what he does when the 4 years are over.
We lost the war. We might have won a huge battle to get him out of there for COVID, or else who knows how many more people would have died. But we lost the war.
I mean, if you believe there was a real COVID pandemic, if you believe that,
Yeah, if you believe that. As we know, there are many that don't.
you don't have to believe it. You can just go around and do your business. It never happened. January
So
6th. What a strange story. It never happened.
yeah, so I don't know. For me, I'll crank up drive time again. Do that every week, and then you and I'll talk about what direction we want to do with this.
I'd say let it be free flowing as we have.
Yeah, maybe back off on the politics a lot,
I'm okay with
and
that.
talk a lot more about music. Talk a lot more about places. Talk a lot more about maybe even try to see if we can set it up to take phone calls. That's something that I've always wanted to do since we started this,
Because
and I
nobody
have,
does that anymore.
and nobody does it anymore. Nobody's doing it, and I think that's something that we need to do.
Tell Cairo we'll do Saturdays 10 to 2, and our show's called The Phone Freaks.
But as far as far as just every day railing on Trump, like we've been doing. I mean, I even noticed it last night when I watched. The one thing I did watch was Jimmy Kimmel,
He's moved on.
and I noticed that. Well, listen, these guys are worried about their families. They're worried about their. I mean, they're on an enemies list.
Good. I hope I'm on one.
It would be kind of. I don't have the money for a lawyer though.
You don't have to get a real lawyer. You can get somebody who played one on TV. Same thing.
Can I?
I
If
want
you
the
could get any
I want the guy
TV
who
lawyer,
I want the guy who played the Lincoln lawyer.
yeah, if you could get any TV lawyer to defend you, who would you want to defend you?
What's the Lincoln
Any any
lawyer's
any
name?
movie lawyer, any TV lawyer.
The Lincoln lawyer from Netflix.
It was made popular in the movies by Matthew McConaughey, right?
Right.
Uh, yeah,
Mickey Holler. That's it. That's my lawyer. Mickey Holler.
I liked. I mean, I would probably go between Al Pacino. No,
Joe Pesci from
no, no. I was thinking Al Pacino from And Justice for All, but I started to think about that, and he might have been a little too whacked out. So, um, Paul Newman from The Verdict.
with a hangover.
Yeah, Paul Newman from The Verdict.
I knew
Because
you were going to say
as
that.
as physically disabled as he was with his addiction, with his alcoholism,
He still had the
with
spirit.
his sexuality, and he did everything. I mean, he gave up. He had a spy in the house and everything. He still won that case, man. He won it on work. He won it not by sending out detectives and this and that. He won it himself. And there's always something that sticks. There's two scenes in that movie that stick with me. And one of them is, well, three of them actually. One where he is outside the nurse's house in Boston and the mail comes and he rifles the mailbox and gets the letter from the actual nurse, Caitlin. The second scene is in the courtroom when they're awarding the verdict, and the juror stands up and says, and now he's going up against the Catholic Church. He's going up against all of the institutions of Boston.
Including the Red Sox.
And it's greatly the judges played by Milo O'Shea, and the judges on their side. And he comes up, and the juror stands up and he says, Your Honor, is there any limitation to how much we can award these people?
Whoa.
I always loved.
Milo O'Shea was the priest in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. And the third one was when he finds out that Charlotte Rampling, who is his love interest, is working for the other lawyers.
Of course.
And he goes downtown, and I'm not an advocate of this, and it was a different time. But she calls him up. She wants to meet him, and she goes in. She's sitting in a hotel, and I think it's Washington, D.C. And he walks in, and he looks at her, and he rears back, and he just punches her. He gives her a man punch. And I'll never be an advocate for hitting a woman, but boy, I could sure fucking understand it, man.
He was hungover, remember.
He was, yeah, he was. And it's funny because if you look at the scene in the bar, one of the people who pull him off of her is Dennis Franz.
with that smile on his face.
But that's the guy I'd want for my lawyer, man. Man, he was passionate about it. He didn't have much, man. He didn't have anything. He didn't have anything. He was a broken down old courtroom scab PI lawyer. But boy, when he got the case of his life, when somebody threw him the bone, he stuck it in his mouth and he gnawed every piece of meat off of that bone, man. Until he got to the marrow, the sweet stuff.
And Dennis Franz to boot.
So the Seahawks aren't going to lose this weekend.
Who?
The Seahawks.
Oh, they got a bye?
They got a bye.
Teams have lost during the bye week. It's happened. Ask John Brody. John Brody will tell you about the time they lost during a bye week.
Ground, not they've lost standing, but not games, right?
You don't have to play a game to be a loser in the NFL.
Really? Who do the 49ers have?
I don't know who they're playing. Somebody's, but they have Christian McCaffrey coming back.
Well, that's good. They'll probably send Nick Bosa out for the coin toss.
Now, apparently, all the highlights yesterday, Thursday Night Football, were of the Cincinnati Bengals, but they didn't win the game. I kept saying,
yeah, I walked out and it was 21-20 when I left. I actually went out to dinner last night, and yeah, 21-20. And what happened after that?
Baltimore won by 1 point. But all the highlights, everything was all about the big night that Cincinnati had. And they didn't they couldn't hold on.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's all I can tell you. I don't know I didn't see the game. And been concentrating on, I'm still recommending The Diplomat on Netflix. See season 1 and then get yourself into season 2.
Here's the thing. So I try to go to NFL.
When you're up late at night and they go to and the episode's over, you just want to say, fuck it, let's just stay up all night and watch this whole thing. Fortunately for this morning, we didn't do that.
So I go on NFL.com and I can't get on to see anything because they have this fucking advertisement that's all over the screen.
Is there a little X in the right-hand corner?
I don't see one. I've been looking.
What's the ad for?
The NFL.com just lost me. NFL schedule. Yeah, when websites do that to me,
I'm gone.
They lose me. Because here I can go to Google and get everything I need. And they're going to tell me 35-34, huh? Wow. Joe Burrow looked awful good in that game. 49ers are in Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers.
Gardner Minshew. No, not Minshew. The guy that looks just like Minshew, number 6 from the Cleveland Browns. Come on, help me.
Burrow?
No, the
No.
quarterback for Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah, I can't. I forget his name. I'm going to have to bone up on this stuff. Um,
It won't help in LA because we got two teams and they got to show both their games.
they're going to show. So you got the Rams and the Chargers. Who the Rams playing? Oh, I should go back to my thing here and it'll tell me, won't it? Rams are hosting the Dolphins.
I give Rams by 10.
Commanders are playing the Steelers.
I'll
Jets are
stick to
playing the Cardinals down in Arizona. You know, there's a time that I would sit there and go, "Oh, the Jets and Cardinals, Phoenix, warm weather. Man, I should go down there."
Nope.
Why? Be better off just sitting in the bar. You know, you got to pay to get into the stadium. Uh, Dolphins and Rams in LA, and the Chargers host the Titans at 105. So you got 105 for the Titans and Chargers, 5:15 p.m. for the Dolphins and Rams.
Chargers by a field goal. That's Jim Harbaugh calling to say he wants me to increase the spread to 7.
Um, so we
So my
will.
sister Diana was in France, in Paris, for the election. Then she got on a plane and came home. I said, as they say, you should have
Why?
stood in France. Yeah. She said, oh, the temptation. She realized she made a terrible tactical error. You're
What
already
part of
there.
France?
She was in Paris.
Uh, yeah. Why would you come back if you didn't have? I find some little apartment off the Toulouse-Lautrec and sip. What is it? Suzanne tonic? Is that one of the popular drinks in Paris? Suzanne tonic.
I don't know what they're drinking these days, except you know you're drinking little tiny cups of espresso.
Yep. Well, so you can walk home after you sit at the cafe for.
Get the bread,
Although
get the dinner, and go home.
when I was in France, I didn't spend enough time in Paris to really get a feeling of it as I should have, but I just didn't have time. I was over there to bury my brother, and so I just spent a few hours in France and then headed down to Marseille.
Where did he live? Marseille?
Marseille,
That's a tough town.
yeah, it is. It was then. It always has been, and always will be. It's definitely the New York of France.
And of course, it's a port.
Yeah, or maybe the New Orleans a little bit more than the New York.
As they say in New Orleans, you can't go out your house. You just can't go out your house.
Yeah, yeah. Marseille is different. Anyway, um, so I didn't have time to get into the cafe society and all of that.
A lot of life is conducted on the sidewalk.
Yeah, which is something that I'm very used to because of my earlier hanging out in the streets. All our lives were 10, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, sometimes out on the street. You knew who was who. You knew what was what. You knew what was coming. You knew what time they came, and you knew. But my vision of Paris, because I've watched so many of these war films, is a
All the
bunch of
all the
German soldiers, a bunch of German.
all the cool people are in the underground.
sitting at the table, and all of a sudden, a Peugeot comes by with a gun sticking out the side of it.
Mein Herr General.
What's it was the great the scene in The Great Escape where James Coburn, he's on the run and he goes to the cafe and he tells the people in the sidewalk cafe, there's German officers sitting there, and he goes to the cafe, and he's one of the ones left on the run, and he's standing at the cafe, and he says to the cafe, the waiter and the owner of the cafe, American, American, so they're looking at him, and he's got the hat and everything. So he goes, oh, yeah, yeah, American, American, escape, so the guy, the officers are sitting there. The waiter serves them their drinks. He goes back to the counter, and then they get down under the counter, and James Coburn is standing there. The waiter gets up, and he pulls him down, and as he pulls him down, some car comes by and takes out all however many German generals are there. He assassinates them, or officers. I don't know if they're all generals.
I told you everybody that's cool is in the underground.
And then they stand up, they open up a bottle of champagne, and they're all drinking. And then they say, I get you, I get you. And the waiter is in the underground, and they get him to the people that can get him out of France and off to Switzerland. I believe he's the only one that survives.
The only one who made it.
The only one who made it. All of the rest. I watch that movie every couple of years. I watched it earlier this year.
Well, that's who we are. We're in the underground, Vinny.
Are we, Michael? Or is
Yeah.
it time for somebody younger than us to be in the underground?
No, they have no scruples. They have no goals. They have no idea who they are.
Is this our fault?
I mean,
Is this
because of the hippie thing?
no, no? Well, because of trying to have maybe trying to create a country that
Didn't want to be created.
didn't want to be created. Yeah, yeah, maybe that's very true. That the scruples of the country are different than what we see. We see, we look at a city and we grew up in places where people, it didn't matter who you were or what you were. If you worked, if you did this, if you did that, you were okay. And if you didn't, you sucked. And the, and now we live in a country that the first thing that you're judged on, it seems, and again, not in New York and the East Coast or the West Coast so much, but in America, you're being judged primarily on where you come from, who you are.
And the fact that you have no standards and you believe anything and you can be bought and your vote means nothing to you and it means nothing to anybody else. It has no value. You have no value until you join the cult.
Yeah, the heck that we got a pandemic or had a pandemic. If a million people die, it doesn't matter. We got to keep the businesses open.
That's if you believe we had one, yeah.
So I don't know. And then and then you get into
It's 11:07. Trump will be coming down from hair and makeup on Monday morning.
well, that should that then I would think. Oh, great! And I think the um
Your staff is
My
Part of
staff is
work.
here. Yeah, yeah. Oh God. All right. So listen, before the stuff starts flying around, I will.
See you tomorrow, Vinny, 11 o'clock.
This is a brave woman that just walked up past me. This is a very brave woman. She's going into my bathroom,
Don't go in there.
but I'm having company coming on Thanksgiving, and you got to present the bathroom. You got to show a good bathroom if you have company coming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll handle the rest of the place, but you know what? I can't get down to do the bathroom anymore.
You can't get the access you need.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't get it right. I
You need an
try.
all access. You need an all access pass.
You know what? I need more than that. I need exactly what I have behind me. A very nice lady who likes to come in and take care of my business and leave it shining for me. And she's
I,
great because she cleans the rest of the house and she does an excellent job.
I congratulate her.
So, all right, man. A couple of things before we go. By the way, tomorrow morning, don't forget, tune in for drive time, 11 o'clock. We will be previewing the Seattle International Auto Show. We'll talk about the comeback of the minivan and which direction that's going to go. And our electric vehicle is going to disappear. And we'll give you the top selling and worst selling cars, top and worst selling cars, 5 of them each in November so far. Probably October. Numbers out in November.
Is the DeLorean still on that list?
No, nope. DeLorean's not on that list anymore. Where is John DeLorean when you need him?
I think he's on the island of Kauai.
He had a good idea, but as Tucker, as Preston Tucker found out,
Too much cocaine.
not good to go up against the big boys.
Yeah.
All right, Mikey. See you Monday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise, and then I will. See you Monday.
Love you, Vinny.
I love you too, pal.
Have a good
Hang
show
in there.
tomorrow.
We're all going to be okay.
It's
As
a
long as
fractious-
we have a little peace, think a little love, and drink a little Manischewitz.
What a wine to have on a Fractious Friday. See you, Vin.
See you, Mikey. Thank you all for listening, too. We always appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to listen to us. Don't forget, drive time tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock returns to the airwaves. See you then. Bye-bye.